Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp, and it's still summer even though it doesn't always seem like it here in Belgium, but I am in the mood for a refreshing fruit beer. Now we do have more than enough fruit lambics and Grieg beers and heavy fruit beers and all that here in Belgium, but I thought I'd reminisce for a holiday again and try a local beer from a small brewery I encountered in France. To be more precise, the Brasserie Burgonde in Vitteaux, a very small town near Dijon. I was camping not far from the brewery. I visited them and actually stayed to try their freshly bottled IPA, so nothing better than a fresh IPA. I got a tour and a very nice conversation about all things beer with two of three of the owners, Nicolas and Michael. Now, this brewery was founded in the year 2000 and has some history, and they use a relatively unconventional brewing process as well, but more on that in a later video when I do a brewery breakdown on them. This particular beer is a fruity version of their Triple Rousse, which we will review in a later video as well. But the Triple Rousse is a Belgian style triple with 8% ABV and hopped with Summit hops. They used that triple as a base beer and added juices of 4 red fruits to it: strawberry, raspberry, blackcurrant and grilled cherries. All this should result in a strong fruit beer reminiscent of Kirsch and the likes, and I'm very curious to find out if this fruity triple can hold its own in today's strong fruit beer market between, let's say, Castile Bière Rouge and Sherry Chouf, etc. Now, for the glass, they actually went with a very elegant tulip pint, which reminds me of a crossbreed between two classics, the typical cocktail long drink and the old pint glass. Now, if you look at this glass carefully and focus on the shape, you might recognize a popular marketing trick used by huge companies like Coca-Cola, and that's projection. In this case, the ideal curves of a woman, think Barbie, Jessica Rabbit, in the glass shape. But it's not all looks, of course, because a tulip pint is functional as well. It's easy and pleasant to hold, and its narrow diameter allows a lot of light to shine through, which brings out the color of the beer more and makes it brighter and more radiant. Its tight narrow opening promotes a nice thick head of foam, and because the top curves inward, it captures the volatile aromas and emphasizes them whilst drinking. And to top things off, they kept the design very sober and simple with a one color black print of their logo. Now, on that note, let's have a taste. I'm very curious. Now, I haven't tasted this beer. I have only tasted 2 or 3 beers by Brasserie Burgonde. That was the IPA in the brewery itself. And I think 1 or 2 beers that some friends bought there. Now, I must admit that these guys were so extremely friendly, and we had such a great talk that I will be returning next year, and I will be asking them, actually I haven't yet, but I will be asking them if I may make a video about the brewery and the beers. Now, for a red fruit beer, the first thing that actually springs to mind is that this isn't very red at all. And honestly, I don't mind that. Now, I don't know if I've ever told this, but I'm 36 years old. I've been a chef or a cook. I've been working in kitchens and restaurants since I was 15 years old, so about 20 years. And I've been working in chemicals and even pharmaceuticals and now breweries for the past, let's say, 15 years. There is nothing wrong with a red fruit beer being reddish brown, like this beer. And I say that confidently. Why? Because if you ever puree some red fruits, and especially if blackcurrant is involved, but even with strawberry and the likes, you will notice that if you puree these fruits and add some sugar and make jelly out of them, you will get a brownish reddish color, and that often means that there are no preservatives added. So actually this is a good sign. Also on the bottle it does say bière vivante non filtrée non pasteurisée de fermentation haute brassée traditionnellement et refermentée en bouteille. That means that this is a lively beer, unfiltered, not pasteurized, of high fermentation, brewed traditionally and re-fermented in the bottle. All of that actually adds to the reasons why this beer shouldn't be red at all. But this reddish brown color is very, very accurate and very natural on top of that. Now, they say unfiltered. This is absolutely unfiltered. This is hazy as hell. And yeah, you guys know that I'm not against that. I like my beers hazy. I like my beers artisanal. I like my beers traditional. And well, I've seen these guys, their brewery. I completely understand this. In line with the previous statement, this beer doesn't smell all that sweet. It does smell very fruity. I do get a bit of carbon dioxide, but there's nothing over the top with this beer. This actually smells, yeah, very natural, which is also, yeah, typical for artisanal beers and classic beers. So I really, yeah, trust the label in this case. So let's see how it tastes. Oh my. It is stronger than I expected. It does have a very natural fruity flavor. The predominant flavor here is in fact the strawberries. Now, I am not the biggest fan of strawberries. Nonetheless, this is a very nice beer. But the first thing that I notice is, well, it is still an 8% ABV triple with added fruit juices. And I don't really see how much juice is added. Nope. But nonetheless, it is still an 8% ABV beer. Now, being unpasteurized and being infused with natural juices and not syrup, it's a lot less sweet than one would expect. Now, if you put this beer next to a Castel Rouge and Sherry Chouf and Quack Rouge and a lot of those Rouge and fruity, strong beers, and maybe I should actually, you will see that those beer are very much colored, and I don't say artificially colored, I just say colored, because with some fresh cherry juice you can color your beer on point. But you will see that there is a clear difference between those beers and this beer. And I do think that this is the same in the taste. Like, I do get a lot of strawberry here, I do get a lot of blackcurrant, I do get a lot of carbon dioxide. yeah, and in between that, I do get some red berries, a tiny hint of cherries, but cherry is absolutely not dominant in here, which is a refreshing take on red fruit beers. But I actually really like this. Now, this is also a how can I say this? This beer has the label of Produit naturellement Auchois, which is a natural product from the region of Auchois, which also leads me to believe that this is a biological beer. And for me, I'd say I never buy a beer because it has a biological label, but it is nice if they have it. You know, that they brewed the beer with a lot of attention to detail, with a lot of attention to the products, to the ingredients, and to the environment, and that actually adds to the overall experience of the beer. And when we talk about this brewery, you will see that they actually have an unconventional brewing method that plays right into that card, but that's for another video. Now, this beer, we've talked about the looks and the scent and the taste. And the aftertaste is rather thin. It is a bit like, yeah, when having some strawberries with yogurt, for example, and I don't mean artificial strawberry yogurt, I mean yogurt and strawberries. The aftertaste is quite creamy, but also quite fruity. Yeah, and the black currant is very present here because it actually weighs down the taste. It makes the taste a bit heavier. So yeah, I actually like this. This is a very nice change in the fruit beer market. And I think that this beer, and don't quote me on this, but oftentimes a fruit beer is viewed as a women's beer, which is complete and utter bullshit. But I think that this beer won't have that problem because it does have a rather heavier taste. It's a bit less sweet and it is a lot more natural. So this is, I would call this a fruity triple instead of a triple based fruit beer, just for the sake of the name. Now, when it comes to scoring the beer, obviously I won't drink this every day, but I won't drink any fruit beer every day. And of course I do have my favorites, and I do have beers that I don't really like, oftentimes from the same brewery, by the way. But this one is right there in the middle, or in the top half. But yeah, I do like this beer. So let's call this a nice even 3 out of 5. 60%, maybe 65, so maybe a 3.25. Because this is a beautifully brewed beer, and I might be biased because I have talked to these guys and I have seen their installation, which is quite ingenious and quite inventive. But yeah, I would love to brew with these guys one day and have a nice beer, because I absolutely trust these guys with their product. So yeah, let's call it a 3.25. Yeah, very fitting for their region and the temperatures that I encountered there. Now next year I will be going back, I think somewhere in May, for another climbing trip, and I will probably meet up with these guys again because yeah, they may be fans of Belgian beers and I may have promised them a bottle. So we will meet up again and I will be probably filming in the brewery. So As usual, if you guys like this video, let me know, hit the thumbs up, comments are open for questions, remarks, your own experiences with this beer, this brewery, the region, whatever. If you have any remarks or suggestions, leave them down in the comments as well. If you want to see more, hit the bell icon after you subscribe. You will be the first one to get a notification after I upload something, which should be every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m. And on that happy note, I will see you guys again next time for either a brew review, a brewery breakdown, or maybe an entirely new concept. But until then, cheers you guys.